So, hello everybody, and welcome to today's episode. My name is Jesper from Limitless TCG, and today we're gonna interview one of the top 8 competitors from Utah regionals in US. We're getting we're interviewing Kenny, who made top 8 with one of my favorite decks of the format, Turbo Darkrai. So hi, Kenny.
Hi. Hi. Uh, I'm Kenny Britton. I won Anaheim Regionals, got second at San Jose Regionals, and I got fifth place this past weekend at Utah Regionals.
So you've been quite on fire this season, let's say that, to come through with that. And yeah, you played the Turbo Darkrai deck. What made you choose this deck over something like perhaps Quartz Lapras that people have been hyping this last few weekends?
Well, for the metagame, like everyone had come to the conclusion that Decidueye Vileplume was like the best deck and the deck to beat, and everyone was focused on just trying to counter it. And the deck that I felt had the best matchup to the counter decks of Decidueye was Turbo Darkrai, and it was kind of a gamble because like Decidueye Vileplume is actually kind of a difficult matchup, but it was a risk I took for the tournament, and it paid off for me.
Yeah, it's like me at Melbourne. It was quite the same. You gotta suck it up when it comes to Decidueye matchup, and
Yeah,
it is quite terrible, to be honest.
yeah,
But
it's pretty bad.
yeah, just give us a quick flash for you to Swiss rounds on day one, and tell us what were the most important cards during the first few Swiss rounds.
All right, so round one, I hit a Mega Mewtwo. I was pretty much able to Silent Lab him and just disrupt his start, and so it was a pretty easy 2-0. It's just, the list is just pretty disruptive towards Mewtwo, so you're able to take advantage of their slow starts since they're an inconsistent deck. Round two, I played against an Evolutions deck, and it was another game where my counter stadiums were just so disruptive, and it just would give me a huge prize lead. And then by the time they're able to set up, I'm just too far ahead. And so I was able to beat that matchup in 3 games because I had a dead hand in one of those games. Round three, I hit another Mewtwo, and it was much more the same with round one. Silent going first, being able to get energies in play as the basic deck when they're the Mega deck, and then being able to disrupt them with Silent Lab and Enhance Hammer. You just get a comfortable lead against them. The one thing they can do, which is annoying, is Shrine of Memories, and he was able to take 1 game from me because Shrine of Memories is just such a huge tempo play, and the momentum they get off it is Lysandering like a Shaman. They get to heal their damage, and then they get to keep their energy, and it's very hard to just do 210 damage. So they're just too far ahead at that point, and you just lose the game. So that was what happened in game 2 of that series, and game 3, I was able to go first, get my turn 1 Silent Lab, and they're not able to use their abilities like Koopa and Shaman, and I just get too far ahead and they can't catch up. Round 4, I played against Darkrai Dragons, which was the deck I won Anaheim with. This was another game where like the stadiums are just so important. Game 1, I'm able to go first, and I get a turn 1 Silent Lab, and he's not able to use Hoopa's Scoundrel Ring, and he just has like a very like slow board, and my energies just overwhelm him at that point. Game 2, he gets to go first, but I'm able to turn 1 Perilous City him, and one of the biggest weaknesses of Darkrai Dragons is they only play Perilous City, and if you get the first Perilous City on them, they can't ever counter it, and then they only have like 3 basics, or 3 bench Pokemon. And that's really hard because you're trying to have Darkrai, Yveltal, and Dragon Pokemon, and you just have no space to do that. So I'm able to 2-0 him. Round 5, I play against Yveltal Garbodor, which was the deck I was expecting to play against the most. I did pretty well it did really well in Puerto Rico, and there was like a lot of buzz for it for people to play it. So for the most part, like game 1 and game 2 were pretty like game 1 I got turn 1 Silent Lab, and he wasn't able to just draw out of it. Game 2, I have a pretty weak hand, and I get benched on like turn 2 or turn 3. I just have nothing. So they were pretty bad games. We actually get to play a real game in game 3, and I'm able to go first and get enough energies into play by the time he's able to attack. And I pull off a play where I knock out his Fright Knight Yveltal, and I enhance hammer his bench Evital. So I leave him with no energies in play, and so his follow-up turn is to just attach to one of his attackers, and then I'm able to Lysander that attacker and knock that out, and he just has no response from both plays, and he can't come back from there. Round 6, I play against a Mega Rayquaza, which is actually a match I haven't tested that much with the Turbo Darkrai version. So I was a bit worried about it, but
it
game
should be
one,
kind of bad.
yeah, it's definitely true. Game 1, he gets a really slow start, and I'm actually just ahead in prizes. Like I'm able to get a 3 prize lead, so I get into a great position. So he tries to make a comeback with N, but I'm just able to just draw Lysanders off them both times, and I just knock out 2 Shamans. Like I don't even have to deal with the Rayquaza, and so that was a pretty nice and easy game 1. So like we take those. Game 2, he gets the typical Mega Rayquaza start and puts like a ton of pressure on me, and I fall behind quickly. And my game plan for this matchup was just like end in counter stadium and just hope for the best because it's pretty rough. So that's what happens in this game. I'm down 4 prizes, and I end him to 2, and I play Silent Lab, and I hope for the best, and he actually just bricks off it. And so I'm able to try to make a comeback. And in this game specifically, I'm able to draw Team Flare Grunt. I'm able to active Mega Rayquaza and get rid of all of his energies. And then I Sycamore and I enhance hammer the bench one because he got so far ahead that he was able to build up 2 Mega Rayquazas. And so I'm able to just strip him of his energies, and he just locked from Silent Lab, and then I'm able to just build up my energies in play, and I'm able to just start one-shotting the Rayquazas, and he doesn't come back from there, and I take that matchup 2-0. So I move on to 6-0. I play the other final undefeated, which was a Mewtwo Wobbuffet without Garbodor, which was pretty interesting. We're on stream this time, and game 1 he goes first, and I think he attaches a Float Stone and just passes, and I'm like, okay, and like I'm able to just set up, and I think I benched him on like turn 3 or 4. He just opened a completely dead hand of like 3 VS Seekers. Game 2 he opens a similar start, and I try to take advantage of it, but I go a conservative strategy of being pretty passive and just using Oblivion Wing, and this actually ends up being a huge mistake for me because I'm actually too passive, and I just keep using Oblivion Wing, and I think I used it like 6 or 7 times just to try to build energy. I was content with like the fact that like, oh, if I get enough energy in play, I'm just gonna win this game. But it ends up being my downfall because he actually top decks a Sycamore, and he Sycamores in a Shrine, and he Shrines to knock out my Baby Bird and heal his Mewtwo. And then now he's ahead, and he has energies on his Mega Mewtwo, and then he just sweeps my board. So I tried doing some removal stuff and some end stuff, but it doesn't work out, and he actually takes game 2. So I felt a little down because I was like, he didn't open anything, and I was just really, really passive, and it actually ended up being a huge mistake. So game 3, I'm much more aggressive. I get to go first. I get to play my Silent Lab, which I was doing against the other 2 Mewtwo's, and I just get way too far ahead, and he can't make a comeback. So I'm the final undefeated. I'm 7-0, and I'm feeling pretty good. And I have like the 9-0, 14-0 in my sights because I've always wanted to really accomplish that milestone. So round 8, I play against Darkrai Dragons, and game 1 I just open dead and I lose. Game 2 he opens dead and he loses, and so game 3, he gets to go first. He does some stuff, and I open Hoopa, and I draw for turn, and I think I bench a Darkrai, I attach a Dark to it, and I just pass. And then he just gets set up and blows up, and he gets like a turn 4 or turn 5, like 200 damage Dark Pulse, and I just can't win from there. So I take my first loss of the day, and I move to 7-1. For the last round of day 1, I play against Chris Akla playing Turbo Darkrai. So he was like the first player to win a major event with Turbo Darkrai. So it was going to be an interesting mirror match. We ended up playing like I think 1 card difference. So it was an interesting series. So game 1, I get to go first, and I get my Hoopa Scoundrel Ring, and I play turn 1 Silent Lab, and he's not able to use his abilities, so he has a very slow start, and I'm just way ahead on energies. So we like do Oblivion Wing, and we just keep piling up energies, but I just have too much. I have a huge lead and too many energies in play that he just can't come back from there. So I take game 1. Game 2, we just flip roles. He gets to go first. He uses Scoundrel Ring. He plays turn 1 Silent Lab, and now I'm behind. I don't have my abilities. I'm behind on attachments. He has more energies in play, and like I understand what he felt during game 1, and I can't really come back from there, and so he takes game 2. So game 3, again, it's similar to game 1 and 2. I get to go first. I get to play a turn 1 Silent Lab, and it just slows down the game completely. But game 3 is actually a bit different because I think mid game we both actually just draw dead, and we don't have any more draw. So we actually start whiffing attachments. We whiff switch effects because we start Lysandering each other and stalling stuff, and it's a really like messy game. But I'm able to get the first clean like 180 knockout on Darkrai with an EXP share, and he doesn't have a response. And then I'm able to knock out another Darkrai, and then I just win because like once you lose your energy, you just can't come back. So I finished day 1, 8-1, first seed, and I'm feeling pretty good. Yeah.
So tell me, after day 1, what was your MVP card? Sorta.
I think the stadiums were pretty huge in a lot of the matchups.
Yeah, you told me something like turn 1 Silent Lab was really judgmental for your opponent because they were like, especially you said in Turbo Dark Mirror or Dark Tina, you went like Parallel and Silent Lab were just like so good because turn 1 Silent Lab would just shot up the Hoopa, for example.
Yeah.
And and that's quite a huge part of the matchup really. It's like, do you get your turn 1 Hoopa, or do you have to play Ultra Ball for Darkrai and not play Shamans?
Yeah. Yeah,
So,
definitely.
Yeah, you move on to day 2 as the first seed. 8-1 though, so you can't pull off a Jamie Pimpidorvis. You failed at that.
Yeah.
So no 14-0 for you. So let's go for day 2 Swiss rounds. You're gonna meet the second seed, I guess, because of
it actually doesn't work like that. Like you could, from second to like 8th seed, they were all 22 points.
Oh,
so I could
yeah.
Yeah. So I actually get paired against Mike Newey, the Volcanian. This game's on stream.
Oh, yeah, the eventual winner, right?
Yeah, the eventual winner.
Yeah.
So game 1, I'm able to go first, and I hit my max elixirs, and I'm able to counter his stadiums with Silent Lab or Parallel City, which puts a lot of pressure on him. And I think I actually in game 1, I'm actually able to get like the first knockouts. So I actually take a lead against Volcanian, and then whenever they try to make a response, I actually have like Silent Lab or I have Hex Maniac, and they just can't one-shot me at that point. So then they're stuck two-shotting, and I'm one-shotting. So I just get way too far ahead of game 1, and I take that pretty easily. Game 2, he actually gets a really explosive start. He hits his max elixirs. I think he knocks me out on turn 2 or turn 3 is really quickly, and I fall behind, and I'm forced in the position where I'm down 4 prizes, and I have to end him to 2 and play my Silent Lab to hope that he can't draw out of that. So I end him to 2, play the Silent Lab, and he actually doesn't draw out of that. So I'm able to use Oblivion Wing to re-establish my board, build up all my dark energies, and yeah, so I keep working on my board. He isn't able to draw out of it. I think I stalled something. And then finally we go into trading and exchanging, but Silent Lab is still stuck. So I one-shot a Volcanian, and then he hits me. He hits my Darkrai for 130. I actually don't have an escape rope or an Olympia or any way to switch, but I've actually attached so much energy that I can manually retreat. And so I manually retreat my active Darkrai, and I play Hex Maniac in case he's able to draw his counter stadium. And I Hex, and I knock out his second Volcanian. I go down to 2 prizes. And because of the Hex play, he actually has no response, and I'm able to just take a follow-up 2 prizes. And so I'm actually able to 2-0 him, and some pretty one-sided games at the time. So
Yeah, that's actually pretty rare though, because when I usually play against Volcano, he goes like, "Well, you take the first knockout, and I just lose some point because I can't keep up with you." And
Yeah,
the matchups like basically every other matchup in this format is so tempo based.
yeah, it's definitely tempo based.
Yeah. So second switch round day two. Yeah.
Okay, so I finally hit my first Decidueye Vileplume, and so I'm pretty uh I don't know, pretty nervous about that, but it was an interesting series. So game one, I actually mulligan 4 times, and he's going first. And turn one, he gets double Decidueye Vileplume going first.
Scoop.
So what?
Scoop.
Oh, I actually don't scoop. I play out the matchup, and I think I get game one to take like 25 minutes because I'm happy with a tie.
Oh yeah,
That was
definitely.
game one. So I actually play like a 25-minute game one, just like Lysandering Vileplume and playing Hex and just trying to do whatever I could to just slow him down. So game two, he actually doesn't get a Vileplume out to turn 3, so I'm actually able to put a lot of early pressure. I'm able to Lysander a Vileplume on turn 4, and I hit it for 60 damage. And one of the flaws to the Vileplume is if they don't get a Float Stone, they actually can't retreat that because there's no AZ. They don't have a card that retreats 3 energies. So he just passes, and I'm able to knock out his Vileplume for free. And he Ultra Balls, and I think he was trying to get his second Vileplume, but then he realized, oh, it's actually prized. So all he has is a Gloom. So I actually get the following turn, I actually get to Lysander the Gloom, and so now I knocked out his Vileplume and his Gloom. So now he's basically out of Trainer Lock, and he has to just play abilities. So I'm able to do like Hex and some Dark Pulses, and I get down to 2 prizes. But the one problem is, since I was like focusing on the Vileplumes, he was actually able to just attack me with Lugia and Decidueye, and that's pretty annoying because they're actually trading effectively against my Darkrai. So it comes down to this big turn where we're both at 2-2 prizes, and he actually sees like he can actually Lysander a Shaman and use Feather Arrow and Razor Leaf to just knock out for game. So he goes Ultra Ball for Shaman, and he sets up and tries to hit the Lysander to just win the game outright, and he whiffs. But the problem I had for my board was I didn't have enough energy to even deal with a Decidueye or Lugia because I was doing around like 120 damage. So him benching a Shaman actually gave me a win condition. Wow. And so I'm able to Lysander the Shaman and take my final 2 prizes.
So that's when you go too aggressive, I guess.
Yeah.
All right.
For sure. Yeah, he started benching the Shaman, for sure. So I managed to steal a game versus an unfavorable matchup, and I estimated that we were probably around like 2 minutes left on the clock, so we start shuffling up and everything for game 1. And so we flip over for game 3, and he starts his turn, and then time's called. So he looks at his hand, he opens Shaman EX, and he just like stares at it, and then he goes, pass. And I'm like, whoa, I actually have a chance here. I can actually take this game. So I think Koopa for like 2 Shamans. I just try to dig through my deck. Maybe I can get a turn 1 Dark Pulse for 110, but I don't. I'm able to get a turn 1 Dark Pulse for 60. So I Dark Pulse him for 60. I just hope he doesn't top deck out of it, top deck a Pokemon, and then it ends up being a tie. He draws, looks at his hand, and because I bench stuff, he Lysanders my Darkrai, and hopes I don't have his way to retreat, and then he passes with his Shaman with 60 damage on it. And so I draw, and I have Float Stone, and I Float Stone my Darkrai, and I'm able to bench him on turn 3 of time, and I take... Yeah, steal game. So I'm 10-1, and now I've guaranteed top 8 at this point. And I managed to pull off a win against my unfavorable matchup of the tournament, the one I didn't want to play against. So round 12, I get like a 5-point down pair because I'm at 30 points already, and I'm play against another Darkrai Dragons, which was actually like 1 card off my list I won Anaheim with, and it was just some pretty poor draws throughout the series. Game 1, I just draw poorly. Game 2, he draws poorly. Game 3, we both have real hands, and we're able to actually draw and play the game. And I actually go 0 for 4 on Max Elixir, and he's able to just have way too much energy, and he's up like he's already doing 200 damage when I'm only doing like 80, and so I actually can't win game 3. So I lose the Dark Eye Dragons, and round 13 and round 14 I draw because we have enough points, and my opponents can finally tie me, and so then I move on to top 8.
All right, so you went for your day 2 Swiss rounds now, and then we're just gonna pick another card for the best card of day 2. What do you think that was?
It's a tough one. Let me think. I guess it'd probably be Hexmaniac. Hexmaniac's pretty useful against Volcanion and Decidueye. It can buy you the extra turn. It's just a very good card in the current format in the metagame. So many decks are dependent on abilities, so it's pretty crucial. Buys you that extra turn to make plays and come on top.
Yeah, I remember the start of the format. Hexmaniac was utterly terrible. Actually,
Yep.
it was really bad because
Yeah.
everybody played Garbodor, and you were like, "Why do I have to play this?"
Definitely.
It was only like Greninja, but then you just went like full out Garbodor, and you go like, you never win. So, going for your top 8, how do you look? Which seed did you end up getting into top 8, and what matchup were you playing against?
All right, so I was first seed, and the top 8 was like half the top 8 was Darkrai's. I think there was 2 Decidueyes, which none of the Darkrai players wanted to hit, and then a Volcanion and a Mega Mewtwo. So I got paired against Volcanion, the one Volcanion, which I was actually pretty happy about because I was happy I'm not playing against Decidueye, and then also happy that I was able to beat him round 1 of day 2. So I felt confident about it, and I was just going to take the, hey, it's not a Vileplume, it's not like a 50-50 mirror match, so I take my chances against Volcanion. So yeah, so moving on to the top 8 match, I'm playing against Mike Newey, and game 1, he actually gets to go first. I think I mulligan a few times, and it just gives him like super explosive start, like one of the best like starts you can have with Volcanion, and he just puts way too much pressure on me, and I fall behind like quickly, and I think I'm down like 4 prizes again. It was similar to game 2 or earlier in game 2 against him, and I'm forced to have to end and play my counter stadium and just hope he doesn't draw out of it. But this time he actually draws out of it, and so he just finishes the game and he takes game 1. So game 2, I'm able to go first and actually get a turn 1 Parallel City on him, and it just completely disrupts him. And so I'm able to build up my board, and he starts his turn, and he tries to use Shaman twice to try to break the counter stadium, but he doesn't. So his board is like 2 baby Volcanions and 2 Shamans, and that's like that's not intimidating at all. And so I'm able to just start putting on pressure, and I don't think it takes him forever to break Parallel City, and I just get way too far ahead. I get a huge prize lead, and I take game 2. So then in game 3, he gets to go first, and we both have pretty decent hands, and so we go through the motions, and I play my first Max Elixir, and it fails. I play my second Max Elixir, and it fails.
Oh.
I play my third Max Elixir, it fails, and I play my fourth Max Elixir, and it fails. So I go 0 for 4 on Max Elixir.
And you just lose.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, I'm devastated. I'm like, wow, this is over. I should concede and all this stuff. And I'm like, nah, I'll just play it out. I'll try, but it's really hopeless right now. So he just gets like 3 powered up Volcanions. He takes a 4 prize lead, and the only play in the game is to end him to 2, play my counter stadium, and just hope he can't draw out of it. So I end him to 2. I play Silent Lab, and I hope he doesn't draw. He draws for turn, and he actually bricks. He doesn't have anything. And, well, actually, he draws an escape rope, and he plays his escape rope but he's still at 2 prizes left. So I'm able to bring up my 1 prize Evital, and I sacrifice it, and he knocks it out. So following up with the end, and now that he's at 1 prize, I Lysander up his Volcanion that had a Fighting Fury Bell on it, but no energy, so it has 2 retreat. So I'm able to drag it up, and then I just start using Oblivion Wing and just try and build up my board and try to make a comeback. Because since I went 0 for 4 on Max Elixir, I only have like 4 Dark Energies in play, so I need to find some way to getting energies into the field. So he draws for turn, and I think he plays his entire hand, and so he has no hand, but he can't retreat the baby Volcanion, so it's stuck there. So he just goes pass. So over the next few turns, I'm just trying to use Oblivion Wing and trying to get as much energy in play, and he just continues to just miss something to retreat his Volcanion or hit energies and stuff. And so we go like through a few turns of just doing that, just him passing and myself just trying to use Oblivion Wing. And finally, I'm ready to make my move, and he still hasn't drawn out of it. So I think I Floatstone my Evital, and I retreat to my Darkrai, and I Lysander his first Volcanion EX, and I knock it out with a Dark Pulse. So I go down to 4 prizes. He's still at 1, and he still has no cards in hand because he's just drawing and playing them. So he draws for his turn. He still doesn't draw out of it, and he has to Volcanic Heat me for 130 damage. So I draw for turn, and at this point, since I've just been using Oblivion Wing, my hand is like 10 to 15 cards. Like I have a ton of cards in my hand. So I Escape Rope to a fresh Darkrai, and I Lysander Volcanion number 2, and I'm able to knock that out. So I go down to 2 prizes. He's at 1 prize. He has no cards in hand.
Top of time.
And like we both look at each other. We both know like, hey, you need to top deck out of this right now. And he just draws, and he flips over Via Seeker.
Wow.
And he Lysander, and Lysander's my Shaman for game. So yeah, it's really heartbreaking. I lose on a top deck after going 0 for 4 on Max Elixir and almost having a chance to win the game.
That must feel good.
Yeah. So, yep, heartbreaking, but that's Pokemon. You know, there's a lot of luck, variance, and you know, it happens.
That's what we love about the game. So you finished in top 8, though. So we're just gonna go over your list quick before it finishes off. And you were running a kind of standard list. It was kind of the list that most people used before Melbourne, because after Melbourne, people switched to kind of my variant where they play 4 male and 3 shamans and 3 XP share, which you do too. You play 3 XP shares. Yeah, I like that a lot.
The 3 experience share is like, it's amazing. Like I saw it in your list, and I like the idea, and it's just so good. Like it lets you get them quicker, and it lets you like just keep your energies in play. Like having 3 in play actually is such a great feeling, because like the best counterplay to Darkrai is just to Lysander the thing, or Lysander one of their Pokemon with experience share and just knock it out, and then you only leave them with like 1 experience share. But if you actually have 3 in play, you're kind of immune to that play. So yeah, just getting it out quicker, not having to worry about prizing it, being immune to like that counterplay, it's so useful. It's so good. 3 experience share was definitely one of the MVPs for sure.
Yeah, I was waiting for you to say that.
Yeah, it doesn't really like affect the like certain matchup, but
it just like, affects everything.
Yeah, it's so.
So yeah, of course the 4 standard Darkrai, 2 Volatiles, and a Hoopa. So there's basically no other way to play Darkrai than with these Pokemon. Of course you can play the variant with Garbodor and whatnot, but this is the go-to play, definitely.
I guess you could like go like, I've seen like some lists like opting out of Hoopa and just trying to go like 3 Shamans maybe, but I think Hoopa's still way too strong, and it just like lets you get up all your attackers, just play them all down on the first turn of games.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, really.
Or you can just play 3 Shamans and Hoopa. You can go that route too, definitely. Yep. So you play much like I did in my Midland list as well. I played Enhanced Hammer, Double Escape Rope, Elixirs, of course. You play Free Mail, Ultra Ball, 4 versus Seekers, of course, kind of mandatory. Yeah. Pearl, 2-1 Stadium split with 2 Sign Lofts with Pearl, Hex.
Yeah. So like the Stadium split, in Australia, I actually played 2 Parallel, 1 Lab, and I actually like the 2 Lab, 1 Parallel a lot more. I think the big thing about the difference is if you with lab or if you're playing two parallel, if you ever play like your lab first and they use parallel against you, you can't actually parallel them. Like you get in like a really rough spot where like these parallels are useless, and then you're at like 3 bench Pokemon. So I think that was a definitely huge change for me is going to lab 1 parallel.
Oh yeah. So
Yeah.
of course the one hex usually. Actually my updated list. I think I made the video on this channel as well, where I play double hex for this
Yeah,
matchup.
that was actually my 61st card, double hex. Because I thought about going like just 2 stadiums, but then I started getting worried about like Mega Ray and like and Volcanion, like decks I would need like a counter stadium.
Oh, it definitely
So
makes it worse. Yeah.
so I couldn't find room for the second hex, but that is definitely a cut that I would consider for sure.
Yeah, and the usual double Lysander, and you play free in instead too. I understand that. That's
Yeah,
if you don't play super turbo build, the you have to play free in. Otherwise, it's
yeah.
not
So
worth it.
I was just worried about Vileplume. I thought about making that switch as well, like going the 4 male 2 N, but having N against Vileplume, I guess, is slightly better. So that was the
Yeah,
reason I went with that decision.
it's more like my playstyle against Vileplume is just to go first and go big and or go home. Basically,
That's definitely the best way to play that matchup for sure.
it's just like get all the energy to play or you just lose, which you
Yep.
do
Yep.
anyways. So no hope for that. And you changed the switch for Olympia. Was that also very Vileplume orientated, or how was that?
Oh, that was actually Lapras oriented. I think Olympia is huge in the Lapras matchup. Like that was pretty much just for that. Also, Olympia was actually my MVP from Anaheim regionals in Darkrai Dragons. It was just so clutch. It's just so useful. But the main thing that motivated me was all the Lapras hype, and I think it's a big difference. Like if you don't play Olympia or not, like just being able to be a seeker and switch, they try to stall Darkrai or anything. So that's why I played Olympia.
Oh yeah. And you got the four
Yeah.
Sycamore. You played Team Fleur Grunt. So how was that during the tournament? I heard you said you stripped a Rayquaza of energy with enhanced hammer, then Frag Grunt. But how was the card, and why did you want to play it?
that that was okay. That was actually like the only time I used it in the entire tournament. I played it because like the most recent tournament, which was Puerto Rico Special Challenge or Special Event. There's a lot of Evital Garbodor. So like Evital Garbodor was back in the meta, and I think that matchup can definitely be close. But if you play Team Flare Grunt, it really just puts like it gives you a favorable matchup. So I really played it for the intent of that matchup, and I played one. I was able to beat one, but that was really just a meta call, and I actually only ended up using it once, which was against the Mega Rayquaza. So on like every other matchup, it was pretty much useless. I think I got like a Flare Gun against like the Decidueye one turn, but it's not really that effective. It was just good. It was definitely like just a meta call decision, and I'm not really sure if it was really worth it in the end.
Oh yeah. And then you could play the split that I also use for tools is free XP shirt, double belt, and floatstone. I don't think that's kind of mandatory now, I guess. So
Yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. Floatstone
yeah,
for Vileplume, I guess if you can get it down, it's pretty nice.
well, yeah, really nice. Well, more like in Vileplume
Mm.
matchup, I want to get all tools down on all my Pokemon. That is
Yeah, yeah,
that's a dream. um,
yeah.
and of course you go 12 dark. I remember playtesting for Australia. We discussed the 13 darks, but it only makes the max elixir able to hit 0
Yeah.
point something.
Yeah, I know
amount
it's
of
a
times.
small percentage. Like, I don't think it really does matter, but I don't know. Maybe it would have helped me not go over 4.
Well, you can play 20 energies, and then you don't do that. Well,
Yeah,
then you'd be kind of pissed if you go like 04 max elixir and still play 20 energy. So
yeah, true.
that's devastating, of course. But going to the next tournament, you're going to Brazil, right?
Yep, going Brazil.
Yeah, going to Brazil.
That's-
Do you think this is a good meta call for Brazil? I heard there's a lot of Volcanion and Decidueye. Do you think that this will be a good deck, and what changes do you want to make to it?
I think I mean, Darkrai is the most reliable deck. It's definitely the most consistent deck of like the main decks in the format right now. So just based on that alone, I think it's a fine call. But I don't know if like you're gonna get like the perfect matchups or favorable matchups that you really would want for a tournament. But just being able to rely, like be consistent and to be able to rely on it, I think would makes it an appealing call. Um, any changes that I'd make, it really comes down to what you're expecting. So like you said, like Volcanion and Decidueye, Vileplume, like double Hex Maniac is pretty good against that. So I guess that would be a change I would consider. Yeah, just mainly stuff that would be able to affect those two matchups. So um, I'm not really like, other than Hex and that, like there isn't really a lot of text that I think you can really put into it. But yeah, I definitely consider those changes.
Oh yeah, and how? What do you want to? What do you think about stuff like Team Flare Gun and Handstammer? Do you think that's
Yeah,
needed
so
in the deck?
yeah, so basically, like those would be cards I'd consider cutting. Like I pretty much had them for the Evil to Garbodor matchup. And if like if you're not expecting that, then you definitely don't need it. So you could cut the first cut would probably be Team Flare Grunt. You could cut that for second Hex, or like maybe you could play like two Float Stones to help versus Vileplume, so you aren't getting stranded all the time. There isn't really a lot of tech cards for those matchups, but yeah, I could cut Team Flare Grunt first.
Or you could just go super turbo dark.
Yeah, yeah, you could do that too.
Well, so what do you think about the stadium split though? Do you think that maybe you should promote it to a 2-2, or do you think you could change it? You said that 2 Peril did indeed hurt you in Melbourne when you played this deck also. It did indeed hurt you because when they countered, if you played Silent Lab out first and they countered it, you were you were really behind because you were playing Dark Dragons, right?
Yeah. Well, no, I was playing Turbo Dark.
All right.
Yeah.
You're playing these different dark variants, and I'm just playing the
But I mean,
one.
like, still, like, Darker gets hurt by having 3 bench. Like, you want your experience shares, and you want all your energy, and if you only have 3 Pokemon, 3 bench Pokemon, it's really hard to do the deck strategy. So, I think, yeah, I could see 4 stadiums. I definitely could see that. They're just so strong. They're pretty overpowered, actually, and they can definitely swing matchups. Like, a lot of these, like, slower decks they just get disrupted and can't set up in the standard format because you're playing a turn 1 lab or you turn 1 Perilous City, which is actually yeah, the second Perilous City would be actually pretty good against Volcanion. So I'd consider maybe going up to 4 stadiums if you want to do that.
Oh yeah. And the last thing before we end this interview, what do you think about Delinquent? Like, you play 3 stadiums, you can easily play Delinquent and play your own. What do you think about that?
I actually love Delinquent. It's one of my favorite cards. I remember when the card came out, I was like, this card's so good. It's just
I hate
it's
it.
always huh?
I hate it.
I just like the it's kind of like I don't like it as like a card like as being healthy for the game, but it's kind of like gets us where it just like completely shifts the game. Like you just get rid of their hand, and then from there you just win. Like they have to top deck out of it, and a lot of times they can't. Like just like that, it's kind of like a side win condition, and that's pretty useful. But I've always considered playing Delinquent and Darkrai decks, but I always find it being like this, like a side deck card, like my 63rd card or whatever. It never ever gets into my list, just because there's just so many other things that I have to play this for this matchup, or I have to play this to stay consistent, and I just never find the room for it. But if you can find the room for it and you want to play it, I think it's a fine tech choice, and it's definitely useful because so many decks are reliant on stadiums and they play like 3 to 4, and being able to win the stadium war usually means you have a good chance of winning the game.
Oh yeah. So, in this interview, do you have any shoutouts to anyone who helped you build this list, or did you do it all by yourself?
Just shout out to all my friends. Like there's way too many to count. Like there's so many people that support me in this game, and I guess like my sponsorship fell through, so now I'm on Team Brandon Martin. Like we don't really have a team or anything. We're just a group of friends and stuff that support each other.
MCG died.
Yeah, it did. So yep. That's all I have for shout outs really. I guess you can follow me on Twitter at Kenny Britton 4, and yep, that's pretty much it.
Yep. And I want to thank you all for watching this interview with Kenny, and good luck to you in the future. I know you got your Worlds invite, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm
of
at
course.
667.
Oh, wait, you got it.
Yeah.
So, of course, thank you all for watching, and hopefully we'll return with some more Victory Road or style interview like this. Leave a comment in the comment section below if you want to see more like this, or you have questions for Kenny. He will probably answer and watch this video himself. So, I hope you have a nice day, and I'll see you very soon.